Look at the extent of the Mauryan Empire. You can see how vast it was. So obviously governing such a large empire needed some serious plans. So let us see what those plannings were. So the state had 7 key elements. Now what were the 7 key elements? It was headed by Swami or the king at the top. Now the Swami at that time was Chandragupta Maurya, who was heading the empire, and Chanakya was his chief mantri. Now we have the next key element, that is Amatya, or who were the ministers. The next elements that we have is the Janapada, or the territory, and the people that were residing in that territory. The next that comes is the Durga, or the fortified capital city. The next key element that we have is Kosha, or the treasury of the empire. The next we have Danda, or justice, because Dand means justice. The next that we have is Mitra, or the allies of the king at that time. Now the Mauryan Empire, as you already know, was huge, and obviously such a huge empire cannot be governed only by the king. So obviously he needed some help of other people. Like today we have the government of India, which is headed by the Prime Minister, and this Prime Minister has a certain other different set of ministers, like the cabinet ministers and other ministers for different departments. Similarly, the king also had a council of ministers, which was also known as the Mantri Parishad. Now, under the Mantri Parishad, there was a branch which was headed by the Mantri Parishad Adhyaksha, or who was the head of the Council of Ministers. Under this Mantri Parishad Adhyaksha, we have different set of people, like the Purohit, who is the chief priest, like the Senapati, who works as the commander-in-chief, and the Yuvraj, or the crown prince. Now we also have different other ministers, like Mahamatyas, who were the important ministers who were appointed work of the official department, official administrative department. We also had the Amatyas, who were the lesser ministers, who also assisted the Mahamatyas in the administration. Now there are different departments in the Mauryan administration, like we have the department of Loha, which means iron, and it is headed by the superintendent of iron, who is also known as the Loha Dakshya. Now we also have the Samastya Adhyaksha, or the superintendent of the markets. We also have here Akara Dhyaksha, or the superintendent of the mines, and we also have Navadhyaksha, or the superintendent of the ships. So you see how there were different people who are heading different departments, ensuring the smooth running of the administration. Now, obviously, such a huge empire should have to be ideally divided into many provinces to be governed at smaller levels. So this Mauryan Empire was divided into provinces. Like today we have the country of India has many states. Similarly, at that time the Mauryan Empire used to have provinces. So the Mauryan empires had 4 provinces initially. First one was Magadha, whose capital was at Patliputra. Then we had Gandhara, whose capital was at Takshila. We had Avanti, whose capital was at Ujjain. And we had the southern province, whose capital was at Swarnagiri. After Kalinga was conquered by Ashoka, Kalinga was added as the 5th province, whose capital was at Tosali. So here you can see Takshila, Ujjain, Swarnagiri, Toshali, and Patliputra, which were the capitals of the provinces. And Patliputra was also serving as the capital of the empire as a whole. Now that you know that there were provinces which were divided, these provinces were governed by the Aryaputras, or the Kumaras, who were the princes who had the back of the emperor. Now the provinces were further divided into districts, or Janapadas, and these districts, or the Janapadas, were governed by the Pradeshikas. Now these Pradeshikas used to tour the districts every 5 years to ensure that there was smooth running and everything was going in proper order. Now there are two different officials, Rajukas and the Yuktas, that come under the Pradeshikas. What was the importance of Rajuka? So these Rajukas used to calculate the land revenue. How? By evaluating the land in the district, like how much land is there in the district, and according to it the calculation was done of how much land revenue should be generated. What was the function of this Yukta? The Yukta used to collect and account the revenues, and they also had some secretarial work. Now, the districts were further divided into villages which were governed by the Gramikas, and there were cities which were under the control of the municipal administrative bodies. Now coming to Patliputra, as already mentioned, Patliputra was the capital city of the entire empire. So obviously the capital city should be well flourished because it is the major hub of the empire. So like Delhi is the capital city of our country and has many important buildings like the Rashtrapati Bhavan and the Parliament. Similarly, Patliputra was also very important because it was the capital city. So you can see Patliputra was found at the confluence of two rivers, that is Ganga and Son. So transport was well facilitated because it was water transport. So communication was made easier from the capital city. Now can you tell me what was the capital of the Mauryan Empire? Was it Takshila, Patliputra or Ujjain? Yes, it is Patliputra. Now Megasthenes was very spellbound looking at the spectacular beauty of the capital city Patliputra. He was also very enthralled to see how a city was so sophisticatedly governed. Here you see Patliputra had a municipal body which had 6 committees made of 5 members each. So in total, how many members do we have? We have 30 members in total, divided into 6 committees having 5 members each. Now what was the role of these committees? The first committee was entrusted with the role of registration of births and deaths. The second committee had the role of collection of municipal taxes. The third committee had the role of supervision of trade and commerce. The fourth committee was entrusted with the role of selling of manufactured goods. The fifth was having the responsibility of welfare of foreigners, and the last committee was designated with the role of sanitation to maintain healthy conditions. So you see how a city, the capital city, was so sophisticated and was administrated at a lower level that all proper governing was checked at. Now we also have Nagaraka or the superintendent of the city. Nagaraka or the superintendent of the city, whose function was to oversee the functions of the different departments, that they work properly, and he also was working as a census officer to record the births and deaths. So you see how such a huge empire was divided into provinces. These provinces divided into many districts, district divided into many villages, and there were cities. So you see how there were layers of administration, and there were different departments too to ensure that there was proper running, and there were people who were appointed to see, to check these departments that they were functioning in a smooth way. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app and get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology, get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.